Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I'm pleased to share the key concept from chapter number 5 to 7 of our educational psychology course. In earlier sessions, we explored educational psychology, developmental systems theory, cognitive development, and social, emotional, and moral development. Now we shift our focus to learning theories that shape teaching practice. We begin with behaviorism, which examines how reinforcements, rewards, and consequences influence behavior. From there, we move to cognitive approach that explore mental processing, memory, and knowledge construction. And finally, the humanistic perspective, which emphasizes personal growth and self-actualization. Let's start by unpacking the principles and applications of behaviorism in education. Chapter number 5, Behaviorist View of Learning. Behaviorism is a learning theory that explains how individuals acquire new behaviors through observable actions and rather than internal mental processes. It emphasizes the role of environment in shaping behavior through reinforcement, punishment, and conditioning. We begin with Pavlov's classical conditioning, where learning occurs through associating a neutral stimulus with a meaningful one, eventually producing the same response in an educational setting. This can be seen when a positive classroom atmosphere becomes linked with learning, making students more engaged. Next, we explored B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning, which focuses on how behavior is strengthened or weakened by its consequences. Positive reinforcement, like rewards, increases the probability of a behavior, while negative reinforcement removes something unpleasant to encourage repetition. Punishment, on the other hand, aims to reduce unwanted behavior, though it must be applied with care to avoid negative side effects. Classroom applications include token economies, where students can earn points or tokens for good behavior, and behavior charts, which track progress and encourage self-monitoring. These tools can improve focus, participation, and cooperation when used consistently and clearly. Why it matters? Behavioral strategies can help maintain order, reinforce positive habits, and reduce disruptions. However, they should be applied fairly, ethically, and alongside other teaching approaches. Over-reliance on rewards may limit intrinsic motivation. So, it is more important to balance behaviorist techniques with methods that foster curiosity, self-regulation, and critical thinking. In summary, behaviorism offers powerful practical tools for classroom management and learning, especially when integrated thoughtfully into broader instructional strategies. By understanding and applying these principles, educators can create structured, supportive environment that encourage students to constantly demonstrate positive behaviors while gradually developing internal motivation for learning. Beyond behavior, what's happening inside the learner's mind? Let's explore that through the cognitive perspective. Chapter number 6, Cognitive Explanation of Learning. Here we moved inward, shifting our attention from the observable behavior to the inner workings of the mind, focusing on mental processing, memory, and the knowledge construction. This perspective looks at how learners take in information, store it, and retrieve it when needed. We explored the information processing model, which compares the mind to a computer. With sensory input, working memory, and long-term storage. Effective learning happens when information is meaningfully encoded, connected to prior knowledge, and rehearsed to strengthen retention. Strategies such as chunking, mnemonic devices, and spaced repetition can help students remember and apply what they learn. Another key concept: what metacognition, thinking about one's own thinking. Students who are metacognitively aware can plan how to approach a task, monitor their progress, and adjust their strategies if needed. Teaching metacognitive skills such as self-questioning and reflections helps students become more independent learners. We also revisited constructivist theory from Piaget and Vygotsky. We applied directly to classroom practice. Piaget's emphasis on active discovery aligns with hands-on learning, while Vygotsky's socio-cultural approach highlights the importance of collaboration and scaffolding with the zone of proximal development. Practical applications include discovery learning, where students investigate and solve problems independently, and group work, which fosters shared understanding through dialogue and peer sports. Teaching tip: promote active learning by engaging students in activities that require them to process and apply knowledge. Encourage regular reflection on their learning and guide them in monitoring their own thinking processes. By integrating cognitive and constructive principles into instruction, educators can help students not only retain information but also develop the skills to think critically, solve problems creatively, and take ownership of their own learning journey. So, how can we inspire students to truly engage in this kind of learning, especially from a humanistic perspective? Let's explore that next. Chapter number 7: Humanist Approaches to Learning. The humanistic approach in education emphasizes the development of whole student mind, emotions, relationship, and personal potential. Rather than focusing solely on academic achievement, it is rooted in the philosophies that human dignity, personal growth, and self-awareness. Viewing students as unique individuals capable of directing their own learning in meaningful ways, this perspective encourages educators to see beyond test scores, fostering environments where students can flourish both academically and personally. Drawing heavily from Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the approach highlights the importance of meeting foundational needs such as physiological well-being and safety before expecting higher order learning to occur. Emotional security, a sense of belonging, and healthy self-esteem are seen as essential stepping stones for intellectual growth. Carl Rogers further advanced this approach with his principles of student-centered learning, unconditional positive regard, and the belief that the teacher should act as a facilitator rather than a director of knowledge. In a humanistic classroom, instruction is personalized around the learner. Students are encouraged to set personal goals, work at their own pace, and explore topics that spark their curiosity. The emphasis extends well beyond academics to include social and emotional learning, nurturing empathy, self-awareness, and responsible decision-making skills. Trust, open communication, and mutual respect for the foundation of the learning environment, creating a safe space for students to take risks and grow. Cooperative learning strategies such as group projects and problem-solving activities are often used to promote collaboration, active listening, and appreciation for diverse perspectives. These experiences help students develop interpersonal skills that are valuable in both personal and professional contexts. Humanism also places strong value in reflective practices, encouraging learners to assess their own progress, understand their motivations, and take ownership of their growth. Intrinsic motivation, rather than external rewards or fostered through meaningful and relevant learning experiences, ultimately the humanistic approach aims to prepare students not only for the academic success but for a purposeful, well-rounded life. It encourages creativity, self-expression, and resilience, equipping learners with the confidence, empathy, and adaptability needed to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Education in this view is a transformative journey where success is measured not solely but by grades but by a student's ability to grow into a compassionate, capable, and self-aware individual who is ready to contribute positively to society. Now let's close today's session with a quick but meaningful recap. To summarize, we explored three major perspectives that shape how we understand learning. Behaviorist view of learning. This perspective emphasizes observable behavior, focusing on how actions are shaped by reinforcement, punishment, and various forms of conditioning. It reminds us that consistent feedback and a structured practice can shape desired behaviors effectively. Cognitive view of learning. Here the focus shifts to what happens inside the mind. Mental processes, memory systems, problem-solving strategies, and the active construction of the knowledge. It shows us the importance of understanding how learners think, process, and store information, so we can design instruction that aligns with how the brain works. Humanistic view of learning. This approach highlights personal growth, emotional well-being, and the central role of growth students' own goals, values, and the motivation. It teaches us to see learners as a whole individuals, not just as receivers of information, and to create environments that nurture self-esteem and self-direction. Each chapter has been a step toward deepening your understanding of the learner, helping you become a more thoughtful educator, counselor, or researcher. The connections you have made today can guide not only your professional work but also your personal approach to growth and learning. I hope this summary helped you connect the main ideas and reflects on your own learning journey. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and keep inspiring others. Assalamu alaikum and goodbye.